So just this is for somebody who might be considering using two-part epoxy to recoat a cabinet. This is just a piece of cheap pine, 3/4 inch underneath it. And I wanted to change it to make it look a bit like it's like marble, or just update it a little bit. Because all my cabinet faces inside the trailer are white as well, high gloss white. So I thought this might be a good way to go. The first time I did it, it worked out just fine. And then 6 months later, I started getting a brown sheen all over the middle of it. And apparently the reason is that I didn't mix it properly, not as thoroughly as I should have. So this time when I did it, I used the 2-pot method, where you mix it for 2 minutes in one pot and then dump it into another and then mix it for another couple of minutes. And that way there's less likelihood of the stuff that's stuck to the corners or the sides of the container, which isn't mixed properly, contaminating it. So hopefully it's going to work. I'll show you what I'm using. So this stuff's called Crystal Sheen. And you add this is the tint. So I used about half this bottle of tint, so it's 60 ml bottle. And I dumped it into this one in a container, obviously, first. And so you add this to the resin and then add the hardener to it at the end. But you got to thoroughly mix this in first. So then I mixed it in this, and as well as I could for about 2 minutes, and then I dumped it into another container, which I then dumped onto the table. So the hardest part, the horizontal surfaces are fine. It's the vertical surfaces that are difficult, because gravity is running in that exact direction. So the corners in particular, you can see that corner is very thin, and I just have to keep touching this up until it gels in order to get that covered. Because last time, well, I've done it 3 times, and you can see it's still there. You can still see it. So that would be the only thing that I would say is a little annoying about using this stuff. The other problem that I had, excuse my 1970s living room here, that real estate agent said not to fix anything because they're going to knock my house down. So I get to use it for doing things like this. Anyways, I was using just a straight, like a torch you'd use for, I think a butane torch you'd use for plumbing, to pop the bubbles the first time, and it worked really well. The second time I did it, I used just a dollar store torch. And when I turned the torch on to get it to point down to the surface of the table, it was actually starting to spew out raw fuel. And I couldn't figure out, like, it was looking beautiful, and then I went over it with the torch, and it looked like crap, because wherever the fuel landed, it pushed aside the surface, the new stuff that I just put on. So it was a disaster. And then I had to sand it all down again, and this is the 3rd time. So this time I used just a heat gun. That's the way to go. If I'm ever doing it again, just use a heat gun on full, but 4 to 6 inches from the surface, and worked like a charm. That other board there, I didn't have enough to coat it. I was going to use that as well, but I'm just going to paint it and use it. It's just the backsplash. So I'm just sort of waiting for this to gel. Like, one nice thing about this stuff, depending on which way you look at it, I guess, is it takes quite a long time for it to set up. It hasn't even started to gel yet. It's been over 45 minutes. So you kind of got to hang around and touch those corners up every time, just so that every few minutes, just so it doesn't go down to the bare wood, and hopefully you'll get it on there before it gels. But that's the only thing that, was sort of a bit annoying about it. You can see there's lots of drips on the bottom, and I'll just go over those and sand them. This thing, I think it takes about 24 hours just to get the initial hardening, and then it takes almost a week, they say, for it to get fully cured. So once I've got this thing hardened, I'm just going to put it someplace and just let it cure for about a week or so, and then I'll finally put it in the trailer. Because there's actually going to be weight bearing on the surface of this, so I don't want to put it in before it's cured, or it'll just sink into the surface. It's only about a 1/16 of an inch, but still. Use dams. That's something I should just mention. So those tape dams there, that's just around where the tap is and where the sink is. And then I put one along the back as well, just to try and conserve material so it didn't all flow off the back there. And that's for that's the reason that the sink's dammed off, because if you don't, then it just flows all over the place. So yeah, use dams. I've seen other guys on YouTube, they put a tape dam around the whole perimeter, and then they seem to know, maybe 15-20 minutes, half an hour into the application, they just pull the tape off, and then it just magically coats the edges. But I'm not as confident in my ability to judge that window of time, so I just let it flow. Anyways, if you're doing that, that's my 3 cents worth. But I think that if I had to do this again, I would just use butcher block. Way easier to maintain, way easier to do, and it looks fine. I was just getting a little too fancy for my own good here. But hopefully it stands up. Just one last thing I should just mention. This is not heat resistant, not very heat resistant at all. So I am going to put a stove, just like a Coleman stove sort of a thing on this side. And so I'm gonna get a piece of tempered glass, and I'm gonna put that over top, and then I'll just clamp it down, probably from the front and the back, just hold it in position so that the heat from the stove never actually comes in contact with the surface of the countertop. So yeah, it's just something to consider. Whereas if you burned the butcher block with your stove, just get the old belt sander out and you're good to go. And with this one, it's a major resurfacing and sanding and polishing. May not be able to get it resurfaced properly.